The top 5 scariest styles in MMA, starting from the scariest to the least scariest, in my opinion. First off, we have the knockout artist. Now, I can't imagine anything scarier than somebody who has the ability to separate you from consciousness with one punch. And that threat carries throughout the entire fight. As soon as that bell rings, you know this guy can knock you out. Now, I've personally never experienced this because I've only had 3 fights, for one. But none of my opponents had that knockout power. I'm not saying they couldn't have knocked me out. Anybody can get knocked out, essentially. But there's something special when it comes to carrying the power in your fists, in your hands. A good hard knee from a regular fighter can knock someone out. A solid elbow from a regular fighter can knock someone out. A strong head kick from a regular fighter can knock someone out. But not everybody can knock you out with a punch. Now, I may have not experienced this fighting, but I've had something what I can imagine is close enough when it comes to sparring, as I'm sure many fighters and practitioners of combat sports have. We've all gone against somebody or moved around with someone who, when they touch you, it hurts, right? Thinking, I don't want to get hit like that again. That was kind of painful. They might land a big overhand right, and you're like, whoa. You can tell this is power. That threat of being hurt by their shots is constantly there. It stays there throughout the entire round of that spar, and it's unpleasant. So I can only imagine going against someone like a Francis Ngannou, the late Anthony Johnson. Those guys had power. Justin Gaethje, not the same degree, but he has power in his hands alone. Tyron Woodley. The amount of pressure you must be under as a fighter going against someone like that must be astronomical. So that's why this one has to be at the top. I mean, I don't know what really could go above that. Number 2, the pressure fighter who has a striking heavy style. Somebody who is in your face constantly from start to finish. But they're striking heavy. Sprawl and brawl tactics. They only want to stand on their feet. Justin Gaethje again. Classic example. It must be scary to fight a guy like this. The guy would always be in your face, but he wouldn't really want to grapple or wrestle with you. And when you did shoot for a takedown, he's sprawling heavy. As heavy as he can anyway. He's almost like Justin Gaethje is allergic to wrestling now. Tony Ferguson back in the day. I'll even put Jose Aldo in there, especially for the first 2 rounds when he's fresh and he's coming after you. And you're trying to shoot double legs and attack single legs and he's just limp-legging out, shooting on his hips and you're getting met with a brick wall. Bang! I mean, at the same time, he's trying to punch your head in. That's scary. That's scary. Even when you're sparring someone like this, it's very stressful because they're not giving you any breathing room. You're trying to throw shots, they're not doing anything. It seems like they're not doing anything anyway. They obviously are affecting the person, but it seems like they're not. They're still plowing forward, giving you the illusion that your shots don't matter. That's scary. So you're trying to clinch. To give yourself a little bit of time, they shove you off. You shoot for a takedown. Bang! Met with the hips to the face. That's grim, mate. That's exhausting. When you think they might follow you down to the ground so you can play a little bit of jiu-jitsu, they're like, nah, come up, get up. It's demoralizing, so you have to and in a fight as well, where the referee makes you stand up if they want you to, you're back in the striking realm, and then they're plowing forward again. Bam, bam, right? And you're trying to jab, do anything to just keep them off you, and you can't. They're just constantly in your face. Number 3, we have the pressure fighter who has a grappling or wrestling heavy style. Now, to me personally, this goes below the pressure fighter who has a striking based style, because for me, I enjoy the grappling. Right, grappling isn't as scary to me personally. It might be more scary to somebody else. But I don't think it's as terrifying as somebody who's constantly trying to punch your head in, kick your head in, smash your knees and kick your legs out and stuff like that. I don't think it's as scary. I'm not trying to say the threat isn't as devastating. It can be very much devastating for somebody who's constantly trying to wrestle you down and grapple you and punch your head in on the ground. Definitely. But it's not as scary to me because at least on the feet, typically somebody who has this style isn't as threatening with their punches on the feet. They use their strikes almost exclusively to set up their takedown. And so as a result, the striking isn't as polished, it's generally not as effective, it may not hurt as much when shots do land, not as accurate. They might just throw big shots or little ones here and there just to set up the takedown. You might see all of the shots coming, but your hands are up here. Next thing you know, they're shotting on your legs. That style is scary to a degree because they're usually very good at getting you down once they get a hold of you. And of course, once you're down, it can feel like you're drowning because then they start applying blanket hip pressure. Right, a lot of guys with this style have very good top pressure. They have a solid ability to control you on the ground. And that's draining, that's tiring. And some guys taking it to the next level, Khabib Nurmagomedov, classic example, can also punch you with solid shots on the ground, elbow you. I'll even put John Jones in there, back in the day, especially when he used to take guys down and elbow them right in the temple, right in the eye socket. He shattered one guy's orbital bone just from taking him down, being in his guard, and landing a big heavy elbow. The fight that he lost, the only fight that he lost on his record, came by way of disqualification, but he was elbowing the guy, slicing the guy up, blood in his eyes. Horrible. And if you've ever sparred anybody like this, again, it's it's not pleasant. Whilst he's trying to jab and hook and maybe even uppercut and try and stuff takedowns, all they're trying to do is get you down. You know this. But it's so hard to stop. They're in your face constantly. The same as the pressure fighter who has a striking-based style. The one who has a wrestling-based style is in your face. They're still throwing shots. It's not as if they're not throwing anything. They're throwing shots, but everything's to set up the takedown. Khamzat Chimaev, another classic example. He has knocked guys out before, but his primary reason for striking is to set up his takedowns. At number 4, we have the counter-striker. Now, this is scary in a different kind of way, obviously. When I think of an effective counter-striker who can put fear in your heart whilst you're fighting them, it's Israel Adesanya, Anderson Silva. Guys would freeze up in front of them, even though they're not coming forward, and they're oftentimes backing up, yet guys were still scared to attack. Paulo Costa looked like a deer in headlights when he faced Israel Adesanya, at one point frozen. Your mind is just scrambled because not only was he unable to land effective strikes, when he did throw, he was getting countered. That's scary. It's scary. If you've ever sparred anybody like this, for example, and you're throwing shots, right? You're trying to throw shots, and you get hit. Right, you throw a jab, you throw a right, you throw a left hook, you're trying to throw something and you're getting countered. It's almost like you feel like, what's the point in me even throwing a strike? Every time I try and hit the guy, I'm getting hit. Right, it's like a boomerang of your own shots. Right, you're just literally punching yourself almost. That's what it can feel like. So guys will freeze up. You do become more fearful, become more hesitant when it comes to attacking, because every time you try to attack, you get hit. It's not pleasant. But it's different because they're not necessarily coming forward to impose that threat. You're the one actually, it's like you're walking into a wood chipper. You're walking into a fire. The fire's there, you can see it. And you're trying to put it out yourself. Every time you try to go near it, near enough to put it out, it spits a flame at you. Right? You're trying to attack it, you're trying to attack the fire, you get met with fire. But it's staying there, it's over there, it's calm over there, burning away. But you can't put it out without getting near it. Every time you get near it, you get burned. That's what it feels like when you're facing someone who's very good at counter-striking. It makes you feel like your attacks are meaningless in a way. Similar to the pressure fighter, except you're hitting the pressure fighter. You can see damage being done, maybe even, on the pressure fighter. But they're not deterred. There's something different though about throwing shots and none of them land. Or they get parried easily or blocked. And every time you do throw, you get hit. It's just like, what can you do? It really puts guys off. Number 5, the ground specialist. Now, I'm going to narrow it down even further because when I say ground specialist, you might think of someone like Damian Maia, who definitely has his threats when it comes to the ground, 100%. But I'm going to narrow it down even further and say a submission specialist. Let me narrow it down even further to say somebody who has a speciality in one particular submission or type of submission. So Ryan Hall comes to mind. Paul Harris comes to mind. He's even more scary. He actually got banned as a result of his submission threat because he was holding on to the locks, the foot locks, far beyond the referee told him to stop. Right? That guy shouldn't be allowed to compete in MMA anyway for having that kind of a mentality. There's no need for that. But Ryan Hall is just as scary because nobody wants the ligaments in their knees shredded to pieces through a heel hook. Nobody wants that. That can change the trajectory of somebody's career by having an injury of that magnitude. So you don't want that, right? Look at BJ Penn, Ryan Hall. Devastating. And BJ Penn is a black belt in his own right. He got taken out on the ground through one quick submission by Ryan Hall. But I will put Damian Maia in there because a ground specialist doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who is great with one particular type of submission to make somebody fearful of going to the ground with them. Tyron Woodley refused to go to the ground with Damian Maia because of how great Damian Maia was on the ground. That's a different kind of fear. Colby Covington, the same thing. Damian Maia would be the one shooting for takedowns on a wrestler. And Colby Covington was like, nope, sprawl and brawl. I'm not going to the ground with you so you can wrap me up and choke me out. What's the point in that? I may as well stay up and box you up on the feet as much as I can. I have the ability to decline your invite to the ground with my wrestling. So I'm going to use it. I don't want to go to the ground with you. That's a different kind of fear. That's a different kind of stress. When someone who's so great on the ground gets a hold of you and starts to try and drag you down to the mat, somewhere where you don't want to go, that's their world. That's where they dominate. You don't want that. So you're going to try everything you can to avoid it. And you see guys flail about who aren't as good as defending, who aren't as great at defending takedowns as those guys who I mentioned, Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. People who have faced Damian Maia in the past, who they were able to stop his takedowns. Anderson Silva faced Damian Maia. And Anderson Silva isn't known for his wrestling, but he's obviously a great MMA fighter in general, right? He's got all of the skills. So he was able to defend. Rory McDonald was also another person who Damian Maia actually got him to the ground at one point, and it showed how dominant he was once he got him there. He had Rory on his back as soon as he got him down for the rest of the round. Rory McDonald couldn't get up. Gunnar Nelson, fantastic fighter, squashed and crushed by Damian Maia. Every time he got him down, he survived. He made it throughout the full 15-minute fight, but he wasn't able to do anything with it. So a ground specialist or a submission specialist is a scary fighter in a way. Nobody wants to go down there. Look at Ilia Topuria when he faced Ryan Hall. Very awkward. He got the job done for sure and in devastating fashion, but it was still one of his most awkward performances. And it's hard to fight somebody who competes that way and look good, because all they're trying to do is get you down. It doesn't look pretty. And oftentimes a submission specialist or a grappling specialist doesn't have great wrestling because they're such a specialist on the ground specifically. It's hard for them to put, obviously you think about it when you're training, you have a certain amount of time to train and get good in certain areas. If you're going to put all your chips in one basket, if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, which is submissions on the ground, obviously you're not going to have as much time to perfect and improve upon your wrestling. To get person to the ground. It's ironic really. They got great ground game. They have a great ground game here, but they don't have the proficiency to get down the top level guys to that place where they dominate. But the regular fighter, who may not have as great wrestling defense, is going to suffer against a jiu-jitsu or a ground specialist. It's like being in quicksand, you're slowly being dragged down. And then you get down and you can't get back up. And next thing you know, you're in a submission hold and you tap in. Scary. Paul Harris didn't even have to shoot for takedowns when he got a hold of you. He pulled guard. Gary Tonin did the same thing in MMA. One of his matches, I think he pulled the guy right into a heel hook. So you don't even necessarily have to get a takedown if you're a ground specialist. You can pull guard. And guys will still be afraid. They'll do everything they can to get away from you because they don't want to be on the ground with you. That's a scary fight. A lot of people may not think of a ground specialist or a jiu-jitsu specialist or a submission grappling specialist as a scary fighter, but it is. There's a lot of stress when you're facing somebody like this. So there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments, whether or not you disagree, you agree. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.